Hello, hello, everyone. Excuse me. Happy Thursday if you're watching this live. Welcome to everyone joining live in the chat, and happy whatever day it is if you're watching the replay. Happy to be here with you guys. It has been an interesting day. I don't know about you guys, but this uh, Corbin tells me it's Scorpio energy. It's the wateriness of it all. But I had a wonky day, and then I was crying this afternoon, and um, definitely like dealing with some of those deeper things, right? So let me know if you guys are dealing with scorpionic energy at the moment, if you've been feeling the shift um, as we move through these energies. I know it's right on time, right? But anyway, if you don't know me, if you're just joining this channel, my name is Jake. I am a hypnotherapist, a quantum guide. I use hypnosis in my practice to help people find and connect with their inner wisdom, their inner knowing, both through past life regression, future life progression, and really what I love most is helping people connect with their higher selves. So if that sounds good to you, definitely check out my website, my practice, which I'll be showing in just a moment. Um, and today we are continuing the spooky vibes, the fall vibes, and we are sharing some more stories from past life regressions and these stories and these insights that come through in sessions that I've been graciously allowed to share from my clients to help you as you reflect on your own life and your own patterns and hopefully assist you in that as well. So, hello everyone. Hello, Corbin. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us. Hey, Ken, great to see you. Thank you. I am working through it. Happy to be here with you guys. They're really the vibes are always great in the chat. It's wonderful to share this information and to be able to talk about things that I love, hypnosis. So yeah, definitely doing better now that we're here. Before we jump into the show, though, today, I do, of course, want to remind you all of my workshop that is coming up on Saturday. So if you have not gotten your ticket yet, go and get it now because it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great time. Definitely think that the group workshop experience is a great way for anyone who hasn't done regression before or hasn't had hypnosis done to dip your toes into the water to get a feel for it, and especially if past lives are something that you've been curious about, this is a great way to just test out the waters, see how it goes for you. A lower price point, you have that kind of group experience as well, which I find helps me when I'm in a group situation like that. And yes, thank you, Corbin, popping that in. Hello, great to see you, PSP. How are you? Hello, I was listening to the last upload, right? Was that the session that we uploaded? The session with Corbin and I? Because yeah, if you guys have not checked out the full session that I dropped yesterday, you definitely should. It was a wild ride. I regressed Corbin to a past life of his, and we explored that, connected with his higher self, found some really wild information, and then also some really profound healing as well. So excited to be talking about that next week with Corbin. We're going to be live. Um, I think we're going to do Thursday for that one, but still need to get that scheduled. Anyway, it was a great session. We got to cover a lot in that. It was a really wild experience. So definitely go and listen to that. Right. Really, really a lot of stuff. And like you said, crying a lot, the emotions. That is one of the things that always, when I'm the client, catches me off guard is like the emotions welling up. But it's beautiful to help facilitate that release. Anyway, back to the workshop. If you have not gotten your ticket yet, go get your ticket. Join us on Saturday. I'll be guiding everyone through to look at their own past lives to get some information, get some clarity on whatever's going on in your lifetime right now. So we'll be sharing some session stories today of how past life regression can help folks, and some of the ways that uncovering these lost stories help us in our present lifetime, because it's really all about that. So if you're curious about past lives, if you are interested in checking this out, come join us for the workshop. It's going to be a lot of fun. And especially if you're not ready for that one-on-one session yet. This is a great way to test out the waters and um, get a glimpse at that experience with a little less of the pressure. Other than that, let me pull this down. And if you are looking for tickets to the workshop, you can head on over to my website, go to the bookings page, and that will pull up my bookings right here. So you can go on down to the bottom, past the one on one sessions to the workshop here. And then you'll see the time listed as 10 a.m. on Saturday. That's 11 a.m. Eastern. So if you click on the time, then you can book. It's super simple, super easy, and that is coming up on Saturday. I also want to give you the heads up as well. It is the 23rd of October. So we are almost at the end of the month here, which is just wild to me. Time is just flying. But I am offering still that 10% off for the month of October on all of my past life services. So that would be higher self. If you're looking for that higher guidance, that connection with your higher self, or the quantum healing hypnosis technique experience, both of those are 10% off. And then if you're looking for more, just that past life regression, looking to delve into your past lives without that higher self connection, we can do that too. And that's a little shorter experience, a little more affordable for you guys. So all three of those offerings are 10% off for the month of October. So if you have not taken advantage of that and you are wanting to, make sure you do that before the 31st, so that you don't miss out on that deal, because it is definitely it's the season. It is the season for this. And so I encourage you to go and book your session now, because you won't regret it. No one ever does, I promise. All right. Let me pull this down. All right. Ah, out of town. No worries. Enjoy the celebration of life. I hope that that's beautiful for you guys. Um, right, Ken? The lightning strike costume, wasn't that funny? Um, it was inspired. I really had a lot of fun with that one, and the makeup, the like costume makeup experience of growing up and doing Halloween dress up was always really, really fun. For those of you who don't know what Ken's talking about, go check out my short that I posted a bit ago about the workshop. But I dressed up as a lightning strike victim, and uh, the connections between Halloween costumes and past lives is always fun for me, especially those ones that you will like people are over and over again. When I was talking about this with Corbin, he brought up that he was an alien multiple years in a row, uh, and so with that, makes sense that he would have an alien past life, or future lifetime, right? The quantum time goes in both directions, all directions, up, down, in between. And so it definitely is really interesting to see those connections. And if you didn't see my show from earlier in the week, I talked more about some of those signs that can point you to your past lives, or questions that you can ask to sort of open that door and start to get a sense more of what could be those past life experiences that are calling out to you, because we all have past lives, whether or not they are relevant to our current lifetime. That is up to your soul to determine, and that's why I love working with the higher self, because they always help us to bring through what is what's appropriate. I love it. Thanks, Ken. Thanks, PSP. Right, Corbin, an alien at least 3 years in a row, and that is oftentimes a sign of some deeper soul connection to information. It's the same thing with like childhood obsessions. Uh, that small child who's like obsessed with, I don't know. I had a client who was obsessed with like heavy machinery and like trucks and stuff, like from early age, and he was just like obsessed with it. Uh and it's like, yeah, what 5-year-old is obsessed with trucks and heavy machinery? I mean, I guess there's a little bit of that, but it is interesting, especially when we look at young kids and their obsessions, their interests. Where do those come from? Oftentimes past lives. Anyway, I'm getting distracted here, which is good, which is good. I appreciate the distraction. All right, so past lives. Past lives are something that, like I said, all of us have, whether or not they are uh, applicable or appropriate for us to explore. is up to our soul. And so some people are never drawn to past life regression. And for those people, they are meant to stay focused on this lifetime, or not to have that conscious engagement with their past lives. But for those who are probably watching this show, yeah, I guess I would guess that you probably don't fall into that category of no interest. Um, but there's no coincidences when it comes to past life experiences coming through. And that is the same if they come spontaneously to you, whether that be in meditation or in um, like when you're out in nature. I mean, these moments where we are in those light states of trance. And so it's easier for us to access the subconscious part of us. It's the same thing when you're in a session as well. There's no coincidence with what comes through and what comes up for you. And so the important part of that is understanding what is being pointed to, what is being called out by that past life experience, and then doing the harder work of addressing that, working through that. um, and it's definitely something where when we're working in a session and we're delving into past lives and exploring what comes up, there is the energetic and spiritual side of addressing that problem. But oftentimes there is physical and mental challenges as well. There's multiple layers and levels. If you listen to the session that Corbin and I did yesterday, that was one of the things that his higher self was talking about, was the different levels and layers that can hold some of the trauma, or in Corbin's case, some of the fear, and that it can be stuck in multiple levels. And so I really encourage my clients to look at the whole picture. If you're experiencing some physical ailment, look at the physical first, because what's going on with your body? Is it a nutrition thing? Well, if that gets fixed, then maybe that's the solution. But oftentimes, when it comes to past lives and the connections there, people have tried other things. They have tried the physical solutions. They have tried the mental solutions, whether that be talk therapy or sort of doing the more traditional approaches to solving these problems. And then when you get to past life regression, that is where you are going to that deep subconscious part of you, tapping into your higher self and being able to work through whatever challenge is coming up for you on those multiple levels. Oh my gosh. Hello, Beth. So good to see you. Great to see you. I'm so glad you were able to make it. Oh my gosh, I love that. Making mud pies and playing teacher. I bet you were an educator in a past life, PSP. I bet. I bet. Good stuff. So anyway, past lives, there's a lot of different ways that past lives can help. And if you've seen my shows earlier in this month, you've probably heard some of them. But understanding our past soul lessons helps us to move on to new lessons in this lifetime. The lessons that we were learning in past lives oftentimes are completed, or we have learned enough from them, but they're stuck in that deeper part of us. There are parts of that experience, or there's information that we need to understand and integrate in order to be able to move past that. Um, and when we are able to integrate, accept those lessons, work on that release, which is very much a powerful experience within the session. Certainly, all of these things you can do on your own. You can do in other ways with other modalities, but working at that subconscious level, working at that deeper level, is certainly a powerful way to shift. And then you anchor it into the physical through the actions that you take moving forward, and the ways that you choose to move ahead. Because I really like to remind folks that hypnosis isn't a magic wand. It is magical for sure, but it is not a magic wand, and we still maintain our free will and our free choice after the session. And so if you choose to go right back to the same situation or the same experience that you were trying to escape from, well, that's your choice to go back to that. And so it really is about understanding our power, And I think that hypnosis is such an empowering tool to help people to step into their sovereignty and to realize the ways uh, that they can grow and change in really profound ways. That we are not stuck. We are not stagnant beings. We are constantly ebbing and flowing. And when we get out of the 3D, we can see that a little easier. So, some stories for you guys. I was thinking about the season, especially when I was pulling session stories and experiences that I wanted to share. And one of my favorite sessions that I've had, and I have talked about this one before, but this was a lifetime where my client was shown her life as a witch, and this was we weren't exactly sure on the exact period of time, but it seemed to be around like the witch hunt era, that more like middle is it middle age, like after the Middle Ages. Guys, some of the history stuff, I feel like as I've opened myself up to the possibilities and researching some of the alternative ideas, I feel like I lose some of the grip that I had on dates and stuff like that, because I'm just kind of like, is that even the real date? I don't know. I don't believe that it is in a lot of cases. Um, but was definitely a very interesting lifetime because we we witnessed her in mm, seemed to be like a celebration setting, like a fall harvest sort of um, market vibe, and was going around with her friends, and um, and there was a pretty upsetting scene in like the town square where some soldiers, some guards, some powers that be were terrorizing this guy. And uh, my client, she didn't know exactly what was going on or why they were doing this, but she really had this deep desire to help, to do what she could to smooth the situation. And I was like, well, what is it that you can do? What could you do in this situation? And she said that her power was being able to like absorb or take away people's negative emotions, the lower emotions. And she was talking specifically about like the anger and the and like the meanness of these guards, be able to take that away and sort of transmute that and dissipate that out. And it was a situation where she really wanted to help, but she couldn't because that would have put her into a place of danger. And what we found out as we continued to explore that life was that she was living with her aunt who had taught her how to use her gifts, how to use her powers like this. But her parents had actually died when she was young. They were hung, and they were hung because her mom was a witch, and people found that out. They discovered that she had powers beyond what they expected or what they thought were normal, and they ended up taking the life of both of her parents. So then she ended up with her aunt, and there was just very much a lot of fear and uncertainty around being being found out, being discovered. And it was interesting because this wasn't something that my client had come specifically for. It wasn't something that she had talked about. But when we asked her higher self, well, why did you show her this lifetime where she was fearful, she was scared, she was in hiding, and what they told her was that she was scared of her power. And that goes for this lifetime, not that one. That she was scared of how powerful she was, and so she was afraid to be seen. And I think that many of us have these sorts of feelings and these sorts of um, experiences in past lives, whether it be during the witch era or a lifetime of a healer or a shaman. Um, I see PSP talking about lifetime as a Pleiadian high priestess working with consciousness. Absolutely, and um, those are more of that extraterrestrial lifetime, but doesn't mean that there wasn't some level of um, fear around being found out. especially as we look at the human lifetimes and the periods of time in Earth's history where we've had these eras of power and control, and we've had these lifetimes where we have been more tapped into our gifts, but that our gifts and using them and showing them to the world have put us in these situations where we were persecuted or we were we were hurt. And in the case of my client, she didn't actually die in that lifetime as the witch. She lived her life, but that fear of being found out, um, and also that feeling of like having the power to help but not being able to, I think, really stuck with her soul. And so her higher self was showing her that so that she could step past that fear of visibility, understanding that that lifetime was then and this lifetime is now and it's a different moment, and that she shouldn't be scared to show her power or to step into her power in this lifetime. And so it's definitely um a pretty powerful experience and story for my client. And I've had other experiences as well with other clients where similar themes and similar stories have come up. Um, and sorry guys, sometimes I get distracted by the chat because I'm so used to chatting it up, and um, I always want to like I always want to put every single comment up and like talk with all of you, but obviously need to keep the show going a little bit. Um, and PSP, yeah, I love your question. And like Corbin said, definitely you can book a consult with me. We can talk about this, but you tried QHHT and got 3 glimpses and then shut down. What happens now? Why did I shutter and shut down? I want answers and healing. And that's the thing is we are sometimes it's hard to reconcile the experience with how we feel, because I've had this before with clients who they have expectations for what they're going to get or what they want out of the session, and sometimes that's not exactly what they get, or they struggle to trust themselves. And I think that is, I mean, that's a challenge that most of us face, not just within the session or within that sort of container, but in life too. I mean, gosh, I was just dealing with this today. Some of that trusting in myself, having that self belief, um, that belief in what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and specifically within a session, sometimes it can be hard to trust what is coming up for you, trust the information as it flows to you. And I can't speak exactly to what happened for you in that session because I wasn't there. Um, but I know that there is um, that element of trusting what's coming up and trusting what is coming through for you is a really big roadblock for some folks. And I definitely think that practicing that trust in lower stakes environments, whether that be practicing your tarot cards. I don't know if you do tarot at all, um, or getting creative and trusting yourself in a creative way, whether that be with art or cooking or something like that. I mean, finding those avenues and those places that you can start to build that faith and that trust in yourself. And even, more specifically to this sort of situation where where you're working on trusting the visions and trusting your inner vision, doing meditations, and learning to recognize and trust the information flow that comes to you. So whether that's doing meditations on my channel, finding other ones. I know Silrita has a lot. Regular friend of the show, friend of the channel, she has a lot as well. Um, but I think that trust piece can be challenging. So I think we should talk, Pumpkin Spice Princess. I think we should chat because I can give you a little bit more applicable, probably, advice and experience based on that. But anyway, um, yeah, and Corbin sharing. But I know sometimes I get in my own way too with hypnosis. and yeah, I'm the same. I think that oftentimes we are very used to having control and um, maintaining that control as we move through the world. And hypnosis is one of those situations where we are called to trust and to let go of that control, and that can be a challenge for a lot of us. And it's not that we're not able to, or that we can't still get the level of information that other people get, but it might take a little bit more practice. It might take more than one go of it. And I definitely think to the practitioner that you work with is really important. And there are lots of talented practitioners out there, wonderful people who care deeply. Um, but finding that person that you vibe with, that you really feel um, connected to, is also, I think, really helpful as well. And not saying that you didn't do that, but these are just the things that are coming up. Anyway, so another lifetime though, where a similar theme and thread of um, that embracing of gifts, I suppose, that theme of embracing your gifts. I had a really fun session where my client was shown a lifetime in Lemuria, and she recognized that era. She recognized um, the 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 epoch that she was in. And in that lifetime, she was a woman. She was working in a really very interesting architecture structure that was a temple. She described it as a temple, and it had sort of big, tall, vaulted ceilings. She was describing like arches and like windows and stuff. Like it seemed to be very airy, very open, very high. And at the very top of that structure was a huge crystal, and that crystal was essentially helping them to focus the energy. They were working with energy to help heal people. And in this lifetime, she was we saw a few different periods of time throughout this lifetime as we navigated through, as we explored. And at the start was healing, was enjoying the work that she did. She loved the work, she loved the people, she worked with other healers as well. And as we moved along in that lifetime, we got to a point where the news of this temple spread to further than I guess it had at its start. And with this, I don't know what the structure of the world was at that point. We didn't get all of the details, of course, because we do only have so much time, and keeping it focused on the person is important. But it got to the point where that temple was being overrun with people needing help, needing healing. There was lines that she was describing, like lines of people, and they would heal people all day long, and still more people would come, and people were coming from far and wide to get help at the temple. And my client in that lifetime was really cared about these people and really wanted to continue working and helping and um, doing more and more. And it was the same for the other healers in this temple. But what she described was that they were losing their energy. It was like they were they were they were essentially being bled dry by the amount of healing that they were being called to do. And when they tried to set a boundary and tried to um, set that limit of like, okay, this is all we can do. We're only, this group of healers. We can't continue this pace of healing. The people of the town got greedy and ended up seizing the temple from them, because in their mind they thought that it was the crystal and it was the temple that was doing all of the work, that was healing these people, not understanding the process, not understanding what the healers were actually doing as they were focusing this healing energy, that they were working with the crystal. And so the healers ended up understanding what was going to happen. They saw the signs. They knew that the people of that town or that city were planning what they were planning, and so they ended up taking the crystal and getting out of there. And they fled for their lives. And the people of the town, the people of the city, again, didn't know what was going on, didn't connect the dots of like what was actually happening in that temple in the healing work. And they and so they just let the people go because they thought it was the temple, they thought it was this structure. And in sort of the last stretch of this lifetime, my client was in hiding. All of the healers had gone; they'd gone far away, and they had essentially gone into hiding. And they continued to do the healing work, but it was from a distance. And with that, there was, I guess, a little bit less focus, or their powers, their abilities were lessened because of the distance and because of the situations. And so while they continued to do what they could to help, they were limited in what they could do. But it was a part of that journey and that experience that those souls chose to have. And it was beautiful to talk with her higher self about this experience, about this lifetime, because it was another moment where the higher self said, we showed this to her because she needs to know that she can do this work. She needs to know that she can be a healer in these ways and that she's done it before. And I see this oftentimes with clients who are shown these sorts of lifetimes, or lifetimes as shaman or medicine women or energy workers or grid workers. I've shared some of these stories other times as well. This was definitely a moment where the higher self wanted this client to see her abilities, to understand that she could do this sort of a thing in her past lives, and that she still has that ability that is simply dormant. And it was really cool for that client to see that lifetime, to understand that connection, um, but then be encouraged to continue to step into her gifts in this lifetime, to continue to step into that role as a healer. And this, for this particular client, it wasn't in her day-to-day job. It was a part of her purpose in a different facet of her life, and it was more on a personal level. And so it was a really cool session. I mean, I love exploring the ancient past like this, those epochs, whether it be Lemuria or Atlantis, Tartaria, looking at these ancient times, these other ways of existence, these other periods of time in our history that we don't have a clear picture of, that we don't have a lot of mainstream coverage of, if any. And so that's one of the things that I love about past life regression, is being able to explore the unknown history, the unreleased history. And it's really fun too, because this isn't written by, whoever wrote that history. This is like lived history. um Dolores Cannon talked about it in the ways that she saw inconsistencies in clients recounting similar or the same event. She might have someone talking about Atlantis and crystals, and they say slightly different things, or there's different levels of information. And what she said, and I firmly agree with, and I think makes a lot of sense, is that this adds validity to these past life experiences. Because if you took a sample of, um, I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota. If you took a sample of 20 people in Minneapolis and you ask them the same questions about their day-to-day life, or about the state of the world, or the state of their city, you're going to get a lot of different answers. And people's perceptions and their understandings of what's going on, their level of knowledge, their level of understanding that knowledge, is going to vary. And so that's what's really fun about exploring these lifetimes with people, because we get to see it through their eyes. We get to see it through that person who lived at that time's experience. And then we get the added layer of being able to talk to the higher self about that as well. But it's not always that that they even have, all of the um, like all of the same things to say or the same things to notice or to point out. Um, anyway, I love past lives. I love regression. This sort of work is really cool stuff. Um, Not only from a curiosity standpoint, but from the power and the profound experiences that can come through for folks. Um, I love it. Right? I would love to see that crystal too. I definitely would be interested to see how that all worked. I mean, there's so many elements of the past um, that we can only glimpse through this way. And I think we're coming back around, especially with like crystals and the powers that crystals have, the abilities they have. I mean, shoot, Corbin, Corbin and I were watching this wild video from, I don't even know, was it World War II, Corbin? Where it was like an informational video showing how they made little quartz plates for military equipment. And they were showing the process that the quartz crystals went through as they created these things. And Corbin and I both said, like, there's no way that they came up with that. That is information that has been passed down. Like, there was um there's no way that they just like trial and errored that in, the amount of time that they say they developed this sort of technology. um but even in the mainstream presentation of things, like, there is understanding of the power of crystals. Definitely something where the woo woo crowd gets a bad rap for like our appreciation of crystals. I mean, shoot, my rose quartz hunk here, I've got my little lapis skull here. uh and yet they are powerful stuff. Like, the text coming back around, I think, I definitely think. Right. So that was a really interesting lifetime, and I really love the surprise element of sessions. There's never a dull moment. Even those sessions that are like normal human lifetimes, not normal, not I mean, there's always surprises, there's always twists and turns, there's always those layers that surprise me, surprise the client. It's always fun stuff. Um, oh yeah, Ken saying, I was just thinking as a young kid, I was obsessed with World War II things, right? And that's oftentimes where we can have those past life connections. And whether it be an obsession with a war like that. I think about the ways that um, like Vietnam really resonated for me, and that's not really all that long ago. But Corbin pointed out to me today, I said something about like, oh well, so I was talking about the session that I did today, where I was the client, and I had a friend of mine who's a fellow hypnotherapist. She brought me into the future 100 years because we were doing a little bit of reconnaissance to release, and so you'll get to see the full session here. But I was talking about not having a body at that point because I had the sense that I was there in spirit, or like I'd astrally projected there, not so much that I was like settling into a physical body. And and I was like, but talking about how I'd really like a rest after this lifetime. Like, I don't know if I want to come back right away in 100 years time. And Corbin was like, Jake, don't you know, like, time on the spirit side is it could be a really long time, and then you come back, 2 seconds later, and the physical time doesn't line up. It's like, "Oh, yeah, that's the thing, right?" Some of these things I know, and then I say things that don't make sense, from that lens, and then I have reminders by lovely people like Corbin, and I remember that time is not quite the linear thing that we that we think it is. Oh my gosh, right? It really was wild. I am excited to share it with you guys. It'll be coming out in November, in just a couple weeks' time. But I'm excited to share a session where I was the client, where I got sent forward. So yeah, I'm excited to share that with you guys because it'll be really fun. There was quite a few interesting quite a few interesting bits. I mean, we definitely explored a lot. Oh, right. I definitely agree, Beth. It is exciting to think of crystals as technological assets. Um, I really, I feel that we're moving towards that more and more. Anyway, anyway, what other one do I want to share? Oh, yeah. So I had a client who had a really. This is along the lines of embracing your gifts as well, which this is a common theme that comes up in sessions. Uh, People who are either consciously or unconsciously not embracing their gifts, their powers, not stepping into their own in this lifetime. And the process of regression, of connecting with their higher self, really does have a um, powerful effect on that, and helps people to understand not only what they can do, what they're capable of, but also helping them to tap back into those gifts as well. Um, which, speaking of, if you guys are interested in exploring your own past lives and you want to see what gifts you might have had in past lives as well, um, want to pull up and remind you guys about my workshop coming up. This is on October 25th. This is this coming Saturday, just a couple days away. And it's going to be at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern. And it will be a group workshop helping you to connect with your past lives. So I will be not only sharing some information around the process, giving you tips and tricks for the experience. So whether you're a beginner or you've had a session with me, I will make sure that you're prepared for the experience and that you have the information that you need to get the most out of it. We'll have a little exercise that I've themed for the season that will help get you a taste of what that experience is like, what it is to tap into information through regression. And then I will be guiding you into your past life. And so it is a great way to dip your toes into the water, to get a taste of past life regression, of hypnosis in a more low stakes situation than a one-on-one. And so if you haven't ever experienced this, this is a great way to get started. And it's also really fun to be able to hear other people's experiences within the workshop, because we'll have a little bit time at the end if anyone would like to share. And I love hearing what other people experience, what comes up for people, because as you can tell, I mean, the stories that I share, there's no two that's alike. I mean, there can be common themes for sure, but each session is unique and each person's experience under hypnosis is unique. And so if you want to see how it feels for you, come to my workshop. It'll be a really good time. Um, and yeah, it'll be fun. So grab your ticket today. Make sure you don't miss out on that. And if for some reason you aren't able to make it live on Saturday, but you still want to take part, I am going to be recording that and sending that out. So I can certainly send you that recording, and you can do it on your own time. Um, but yeah, encourage you to join us. It'll be a good time, right, Ken? Yay! Workshop. So I'm trying to decide which last story. Yeah. Oh, I already decided. I started to share it and then I got distracted by my workshop. So, the story that I wanted to share with you guys, this was a really fun session. Um, this was a unique session in that the past life experience was actually really short. Um, and there's no real rules on what the higher self needs to show or has to show. Um, I This was a session though where the higher self came through almost immediately. Like we saw a bit of this past life experience, and then the higher self came through and was sharing information. And that was clearly what this client needed. I did my best to uh, make sure that there wasn't any more information that the client needed to get from their past life experience. But the higher self was like, no, I want to share, I want to speak, I have things to things to tell them. Oh, hello, Jody. So good to see you. I saw myself as a nurse in D-Day war and saw military ships on the beach. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I have definitely had similar visions of experiences in past lives. And I know a lot of people in the chat have as well. Let us know if you guys have gotten visions of your past lives, whether in meditation or in nature or maybe just in your day to day life. Um, Always interesting to hear. So this client, she was she had a couple of different things that she really wanted clarity on, but one of them was her direction, was what is she meant to be doing? How is she meant to be using her gifts and helping the world? And the lifetime that she was shown was, according to her higher self, her first lifetime on Earth. And she was, it seemed either like Polynesian or Pacific Islander, like um, that was the seemed like the physical description and the geographical description as well that she was describing. But she was living on this island, and she described herself running out to the ocean. She would run down this pier, like a little wooden dock, and she described turning around and like falling back into the ocean, like falling back, and her hair and the water like swooshing around her. It was like a very, very visual, very visceral experience for her, and she described how wonderful the water felt. But beyond just like the physical sensation, she described the interconnectedness that she felt with all of the beings in the ocean. That like when she was swimming in the ocean, she was telepathically communicating with the animals around her, with the creatures and the beings that were sharing that water with her, and that the water helped to facilitate that connection. That it was easier for her in the water versus out of the water. Um, but she talked about this deep connection to nature, this deep connection to the ocean. And there was some funny moments too where she talked about her family, her husband, her kids, like calling her back to shore, like that you know they would be calling for her. They'd want her to join them, and she almost felt more of a connection to the ocean and the creatures there than she did to her human family. There was there was like almost regret in having to leave the water and go back to the human lifetime, the human things, the day-to-day mundane tasks of her life. She really just, all she wanted to do was be out in the ocean, connecting with the creatures there, talking with them, laughing with them. I mean, the joy on her face, the joy in her voice, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful lifetime. And the telepathic communication as well, because I asked, what do you mean, you're connected? And she said, I have telepathic communication with these beings. um and so, like I said, it was a pretty short glimpse of this lifetime, but what her higher self said was that they showed her this because they needed her to understand that she has these abilities already, that her soul has had these experiences, that it has learned these skills, these abilities, this connection, and that it was time for her to step into that power in this lifetime, to remember those gifts, and that connection was still something she could tap into in this lifetime, that she could telepathically communicate with the animals, that she could um you know uh reclaim these gifts, remember these gifts from that lifetime. It was beautiful as well because they told her that uh at some point in her future she would visit this place, or someplace close to it, because who knows if the actual island structure, I mean, there have been lots of geological changes over the eons that this earth has been ebbing and flowing, but they said that she would go back to some place, um, an island, and that it would remind her of this lifetime, and she'd receive more information, that she would receive more downloads from that lifetime. And uh and afterwards she was talking about a trip that she was planning. So I'd be curious to know if she went on that trip and if she had those downloads, but all in good time. I mean, that's the thing about the information that comes through the higher self. Oftentimes we are really impatient as humans. We really want things to be now or to be yesterday. And especially with this sort of work of remembering and reclaiming our gifts, there's a process to it. There's a timing to it, and that can be hard for us as humans to accept and to understand. Um, I mean, even just today, Corbin and I were talking about the astrology of Saturn and how Saturn is all about things taking time. It's about the patience, as you take step by step by step, and that you build that thing over a long period of time. And I think that many of us, we want our gifts now. We want our gifts yesterday. And in some ways, we had them yesterday, right? We had them in our past lives. But when we are talking about reclaiming them or stepping back into them in this lifetime, I just think there's sometimes missing information from our conscious perspective on how that plays out. Um, but I think that there always is a purpose and always is a reason. If you think about telepathic communication, I mean, shoot, this is something that came up in my session today. In the future, many of the species of beings that we interact with communicate telepathically, and when you're communicating with someone telepathically, there's not a whole lot of secrets there because your thoughts, you're sharing thoughts and information mind to mind, or directly between each other, and so there's less room for that secrecy or um, keeping things hidden. And I think that with that, some of the ways that we are slowly unlocking our gifts is because there's some work that we need to do before they are fully opened or fully revealed. And, in the case of telepathic communication, I mean, think of how many secrets we keep from each other and how many, I mean, even just like not secrets, but like the fake personas we put on, or the acts that we play. If you're telepathically connected to everyone around you, you can't really play the same games that you played when you were closed off from them. And I think we're starting to get glimpses of this in the ways that we can sense and we can pick up more and more what's going on around us with the people around us. And so, um, anyway, that was a interesting tangent. Hopefully that resonated for you guys. Not sure where that really came from. Hey Lynn, great to see you. Oh, don't worry about it. There's too many shows to watch to be on time to all of them. So I appreciate you showing up. Um, oh, I love that. Corbin saying, I'm setting an intention right now for a beautiful life like that during the workshop. Yeah, yeah. It really was such a beautiful experience. And the like I said, the joy and the happiness that was on her face and in her voice, like it was a beautiful thing to witness. And that's the thing about past life experiences. I've talked about this a few times throughout the shows, is like sometimes people are worried about the trauma of past lives. They're worried about that scary death, or that dramatic experience, or that wartime life that they had. And certainly there are moments and times for those sorts of explorations. There is a lot of transformation that can happen through understanding and integrating those more difficult lifetimes. But that doesn't mean that that's the only experience that you can access. And especially if it is something where you really yearn for that beautiful life that client saw, you can set that intention and you can say, hey, higher self, this is the kind of thing I want to see, or this is the kind of vibe that I'm looking for. And they care about you, they love you, and so as long as it's appropriate, as long as it's good for you, they will definitely provide that. um there are other times where your higher self says, nah, you need to see this. But they'll explain why. They will absolutely clarify why it was important for you to see whatever you saw. um whether that be beautiful shining rainbows and sunshine, or maybe a little bit darker or heavier. There's always a reason though, and that's what I really try to stress when I talk about past lives, when I talk about this um, sort of work, is that there is always meaning and purpose in what is brought up. And understanding the connections between that past life and your current lifetime makes it worth it. Um, and if you don't understand the connection right away, sit with it for a moment. Take some time to ruminate on what it is, and the information will come to you. I guarantee you that, because um, there aren't any coincidences, and of all of the multitude of lives that you've ever lived, why that one? Why is that? Why are those the memories that are coming up? Um, anyway, I love it. Just catching up on the chat here, guys. Yeah, dolphin communication. I love it. Um, yeah, we are. I think we're currently in the middle of two. Yeah, a lot of animal books this year, though. Love it. Um, oh, another question from Pumpkin Spice Princess. Thank you. So, can subconscious be so strong to block the hypnosis from working to get the information? So, the subconscious, the higher self, these are kind of interchangeable terms in my opinion. I think they reference and they talk about the same thing, but certainly the higher self or the subconscious can block certain information from coming through. I find though that usually when there is this feeling of block, or this feeling of limitation, that's usually not the higher self. That's usually your ego, or your conscious mind. So I think about our conscious mind as sort of our personality. That's you as you normally show up. Um, the ego is another way that people describe this part of us. It's that part of us that is the conscious mind. I don't know. Sort of hard to talk about these things sometimes because it gets a little meta, but um, I have found more often that it really is about uh, the ego getting in the way with blocks, and especially with hypnosis not working, because hypnosis is something that is a tool that helps you to access very natural trance states. You guys have probably heard me talk about this before, but these are natural brainwave states that our body goes in and out of every single day. And so hypnosis is something that is a tool, it is a process, it is a technique helping you to access your natural state of trance, to access information. And so with that, everyone, like, hypnosis can work on anyone. Um, it's more often that our ego gets in the way, saying, I don't, this isn't what I thought hypnosis was going to be, so it's not working. Or um, oftentimes with information flow, sometimes we're really focused or fixated on the visual aspect of it, and we don't allow for the other avenues of information, whether that be emotional or more of that download, that knowing, just the information being plopped in. We don't recognize that, or we don't accept that as the information. And so, even today I had a session, and there certainly were visuals that came through, but more than that was the download. It was like I opened my mouth and the words just came. I wasn't consciously thinking of what I was going to say. The information just flowed out of me. And as the hypnotist was asking the questions, I would get a little bit of a visual for some things, or a lot of visual for other things. I mean, it really was kind of a piecemeal of different flows of information. And so most of the time when I encounter this with clients, people struggling to get information, it's usually because of the ego getting in the way and not recognizing the flows of information. But that's not always the case. Sometimes it's the fact that we're asking for information that we're not ready for, or it's not the right time for. And so sometimes I run into this problem when people come with the question of, what is my life mission? Uh, Certainly, that is something that your higher self can answer. They have that information. Whether or not it is appropriate for you to be handed that information, that's up to them. And so there are times where they will refuse to answer a question, or they will say no, or the information won't come through. So we have to switch up the question. We have to ask in a different way. Um, we have to sort of work with them to bring through the information that is available, that is ready to come through. And so there's no one answer to that question, um, but hopefully that answers it. Right, Beth? Yeah, I that's generally been my experience. I'm not saying that I know every situation or every instance of this. I think that there are those situations, like I said, where the higher self or the subconscious can block things, but that's usually because there's a reason for that. Um, there's a appropriate time, or it's not the moment. Um, we should chat Pumpkin Spice Princess, but certainly working with the ego is something that I think uh, is both easier and harder than it is. It's easy in the sense that the easy answer to that is to trust, and I know that that's kind of like a non-answer, but um, the ego will oftentimes get in the way if it doesn't know the answer, if it isn't aware of the solution, um, if it's feeling uncertain or unsafe. And so that's where the trust piece comes in. And I recommend to clients, like, talk to your ego like it's a separate part of you. Talk to your ego like you are not your ego, and say to your ego, hey, I understand that you are here protecting me, that you care about me. You do a great job of protecting me day to day. You think about your ego is who is suspect of that scammer and tells you to not fall for that scam, right? It's that part of you that protects you in the day to day. And so acknowledging that part of you, saying, hey, thank you, I appreciate the concern that you have for me, I appreciate you um, looking out for me and trying to protect me here. But this is a moment where we're taking the back seat, ego. We're going to sit over here and we're going to let our higher self take the reins. We're going to let our higher self come through. And that can be something that is a little more challenging, because the ego is used to having the reins. They're used to being in control. Your conscious mind is the part of you that is normally in the driver's seat and front and center. And so yeah, that's kind of like my quick answer to that. But we should talk more. We should chat more, because I can definitely explain a little bit more and address like your individual experience, your personal experience. Um, but yeah, guys, I hope that you enjoyed the stories today. I do like sharing these. This is really, really fun work, and I get such joy from facilitating sessions, but then also being able to share the stories. I mean, Corbin can tell you, like, I love talking about these stories and sharing what comes through in sessions, and the really profound shifts and changes that can happen, um, and especially these ones where it's about stepping into your power, reclaiming your gifts, understanding um, what what you're being called to do in this lifetime. Um, excuse me, and that's building off of the past lives that you've had and the experiences that your soul has already learned, culminating in this lifetime. And so I really think it's such a it being past life regression, it being hypnosis. I think it is such a profound tool in the ways that it can help you to connect with you. It can help you to start to listen to that quiet voice inside of you, that voice of your higher self, trying to point you in the right direction, trying to help you out. And that's another thing that I love hearing from clients after a session is the client sitting up from the bed and saying, oh my gosh, I guess I talk with my higher self more often than not, because I recognize that voice, or oh, I know how that goes. Like, I've had that experience before. That's my favorite thing ever because that means that you're tuned in, you're listening, um, and we're not always great listeners. The busyness of the world, the distractions of the 3D can be hard, make it harder for us to listen to our higher selves, and that's where hypnosis is such a powerful tool for opening that door and helping you to understand what that connection looks like and feels like, so that you can tap into that more frequently on your own. Because it's not just about what happens in the session; it's about how you move forward afterwards. It's how does this experience help you, um, to continue to rise, to continue to step towards that higher version of you, that higher self, and bring more of that energy into this current incarnation. So, all in all, so glad you love hearing the stories and hearing the glimpses of the past. Uh, I really appreciate you guys a lot coming, enjoying, joining me for these shows, bringing your energy, bringing your perspectives, your questions. It really the I just really appreciate you guys. I guess I'll say that. I just appreciate the energy that you guys share with me, and I can feel the love, and I hope you feel the love as well, because I do. I love y'all, and I think that the more that we can, the more that we can continue to share and be honest with each other, um, the more that we can grow and explore and expand all together. And certainly these experiences might be personal to these folks and the clients um, that allowed me to share these sessions, but there are through lines, there are these themes that I see as universal, that I see, um, the value in for all of us in some way. And so I hope that the stories today encouraged you to reflect on your own experiences in this lifetime, to understand more of, the possibilities of how these past lives can connect. And indeed, we are all amazing. I love that, Jody. Oh, thank you, Ken. Thank you. That really does mean a lot. Okay, friends. So it's time to once again remind you, come to my workshop. It's going to be great. And it's going to be a lot of fun to lead people through that experience this weekend. Um, Remember, head on over to my website here, where you can find all of the information about my practice. I have lots of great stuff that Corbin has helped me to lay out. So you can find my website there. If you go to the bookings page, you'll of course find my bookings options. And similar to Pumpkin Spice Princess, encourage you to book that free preliminary consultation if you have questions, if this brought up some curiosity for you, if you are interested in what hypnosis can offer you and how it might benefit you in your current life. Hit me up, schedule that free consultation. I would love to chat with you, free of charge, and we can figure it out together. We can look at what your goals are, and I can explain more of the process, um, because it's really cool stuff. And I definitely think that everyone can benefit from, well, most everyone can benefit from past life regression. Like I said, some people are not drawn to it, and that's fine. And they are called to a different journey in this lifetime. All right, y'all. As Ken said, have a good night. Sending you guys all the love, and we'll see you next time. All right. Bye, y'all.